Today we're gonna have a look at a professional match of StarCraft 2, and even though over the last couple of weeks I've been casting primarily Korean SC2, today it's time for two channel favorites that are not from that country. Playing here with the blue Terran SCVs. Well, originally from Mexico, but I'm pretty sure he spends the majority of the year over in South Korea these days. We're looking inside of the main base of SpeCial. Playing a very Korean-esque Terran style because of that as well. I always wonder, right? If you were to show me like a replay, but like all of the name tags were hidden, would I be able to guess what player is who? I'm actually kind of curious. That would be a pretty fun, like, caster tournament, right? A caster test. That would be pretty interesting. I think I would probably assume he plays very similar to, for example, like a TY. I would probably assume it's going to be a Korean Terran player. But regardless, his opponent, playing with the red Protoss probes from Poland, we have none other than Team Liquid's MaNa. Now, we're finding ourselves on Zen LE. I've casted one game on this map before. It's a weird one. This is the strange map in the map pool. So the real strange part about it is this secondary entrance into the natural expansion. So small units can fit through that choke, unless you like mine out these two mineral patches over here. Bigger units cannot fit until later on into the game, and it creates a very interesting dynamic. An interesting dynamic to cast, certainly. I actually checked the comment section of the previous game that I casted on this map as well, and I don't seem to be the only player out there that vetoes this kind of map in particular, just because I really don't want to bother learning strategies specifically just for one strange map alone. So I'm curious to see what these two players, though, will throw out in the game. This is very much so a Game 7 type of map, but obviously if you play in tournaments, well, you gotta be careful. Ooh. If you play in tournaments, you do want to practice these kind of maps because it could get very dangerous very, very quickly. Probe, though, yeah, is now trapped inside of the main base. That Reaper is going to be rerouted. And while MaNa may have been thinking about potentially stealing that gas in the main base, one SCV already holding patrol. And you know what? Wow. Yep, that's actually pretty painful right now. SpeCial decided to send the SCV back to mining. He's now all of a sudden finding himself without being able to take that second gas. And obviously MaNa, while he doesn't get a lot of vision from this, once the structure actually finishes, he can see a lot more, and he will be able to see all of the timings here of the structures as well. And that allows him to determine what kind of strategy that SpeCial is going for. So even though this is not the greatest choice, it's a pretty good play on the ladder in particular, because a lot of the ladder players don't really know exactly how to respond to this kind of early game aggression. Shouldn't be the biggest of deals, though, at this level. I mean, these players are very, very good. They know how to adjust in these kind of scenarios, but especially on the ladder, since a lot of people just have one strategy that they like to play, it's a very smart little move to make. Pretty expensive, obviously, especially if you also lose the probe with it, but MaNa apparently deemed it worthwhile. He's gonna go for the Stargate opener. So, Protoss always has to choose, right? What do you want to go for? There's downsides to each of the tech structures after the cybernetics core. Seems like Stargate in general, though, is very popular, but you can also go for the robotics facility. You can even go for the Twilight Council, too. This is one of the things that this Reaper is tasked with finding out. So far, he didn't see very much, though. Great zoning there by the Adept. And, well, it's just going to be a good old Phoenix first. So nothing out of the ordinary here. Widow Mine already coming up as well. We do have that starport, so small chance. Oh, actually, he might be able to get a probe. Is he going to get a probe? Nope, not quite. Small chance that, you know, SpeCial would take a lot of damage from an Oracle anyway. So one Hellion now moving across the map. Is it going to be able to deal any damage? Nah, it's just going to get shot at. Figures out that once again, the Adept defense here is on point. And you know what? Even though apparently there's no full wall, we have one Adepti right over here pretending to be a full wall. Amazing. Alright, so here we go. Phoenix is coming out. Now, Phoenixes are really good when you get a couple of them defensively, but also offensively. They're really good for scouting purposes. They can pick up any drops. If Terran, for example, wanted to go for like a Widow Mine drop or something along those lines, there's a lot you can do, but just having a couple of those Phoenixes going around. They're really, really strong to have, and he is indeed going to start building a couple of them right now as well. 2 of them already available. Robotics facility, though, is coming up. The thing is, if you commit too much to Phoenixes, you don't really have a proper fighting army, right? And since a lot of bio armies will still be produced right now in Terran versus Protoss, we've seen a little bit of mech, but there's no denying that that biological army, that infantry-based army composition is still the most popular. You can't really get too carried away with those Phoenixes, because, well, if you have primarily Phoenixes in the fight, the Marines will just simply gun you down. So it's a bit of a balancing act. You always have to decide when you want to transition, and apparently MaNa already wants to put down the robotics bay pretty much instantaneously after finishing up the robotics facility. This does leave him a little bit vulnerable, So we'll see if there's going to be a timing attack here from SpeCial, who so far is not actually producing anything but additional production. So we'll see. Stimpack though, I mean, it's not going to be done anytime soon. +1 infantry weapons coming up as well. He can go for the follow-up here in just a sec. With the combat shield as well. And that does allow him a really beautiful timing attack. Right, so all of these 3 upgrades, I'm assuming he starts up combat shield here. There it is. All of these will roughly finish up around the same time. Stimpack a little bit of a longer upgrade than the shield battery. Or not the shield battery, the combat shield. And he's going to be able to do quite a bit of damage with that. Now here we go. This is where that aggression can really start off. There is one Widow Mine burrowed, so SpeCial is trying to zone away. This was spotted by MaNa earlier, who's just mostly trying to keep track here of what the Terran player is doing. He recognizes exactly what's going on, sees the double tech lab too, so he knows when that timing attack should be heading in his direction. Now, Phoenixes can actually eat a full Widow Mine hit. So a little bit of damage is done so far. Now, this is a lot more. I love this. So, Vikings are surprisingly good when landed when it comes to dealing with mechanical units. So, probes are considered to be mechanical. 4 SCVs right there, or rather 4 probes ended up going down, 6 SCVs so far in total. Both players taking a little bit of damage, but I don't actually mind this whatsoever for the Protoss, right? Because this whole timing attack that the Terran player has going for him, it's great and all, it can deal a little bit of damage, but by the time that he gets across, the Colossus is going to be out as well. Now, obviously position is everything, right, in TVP. Even though there are a couple of Phoenixes floating across the map, I think this may have been spotted by an observer. These 2 medevacs seem to be mostly unharmed right now. Ooh, he is gonna go ahead and unload over here. I don't know about that because this laser giraffe can just simply walk down the cliff. Yeah, really cheeky move. On this map, you can indeed catch your opponent with one of those cliff walkers very easily. And right now, say goodbye to your medevacs. They're gonna be picked off just fine. At the same time, though, SpeCial right now, utilizing the speed buff that you get when utilizing the Stimpack, he's jumping all of those units over towards the 3rd base. Can't really engage right now with just the Phoenixes, so he has to be very careful. Colossus, though, is coming up as well. Widow Mine will probably connect with 1 or 2 probes, but I think this should be pretty well defended here. Nicely done by MaNa. Keeping his cool, did not decide to jump on the Nexus there. He should be able to hold on here quite easily. Picking up all of the Marines right now as well. That means that the Phoenixes can start chasing down and picking up a couple of these stragglers, just slowing this army down ever so slightly, and MaNa takes a very solid lead right here in the first couple of minutes of the game. Now, when you do go for this unit composition, right, that MaNa is playing here, when you go for both the Phoenixes and then also the Robo into the Robotics Bay, you're not going to be able to get your tech out nearly as quickly, right, as far as upgrades and whatnot goes. So, Twilight Council and Forge only just now coming up. That's pretty late, all things considered. We already see the 2nd upgrade here being researched by SpeCial. This is where Chrono Boost obviously can really come in though, so we'll see what MaNa decides to go for. He actually goes for the 2nd Forge, so I kind of like this. There's a bit of debate always on whether or not double Forge is a good idea. It can be very greedy. It's just that all of those Protoss units, especially if you like do a big, say like a Zealot warp in, right? Those double upgrades are super valuable. So if you take a small advantage in the early game, going for the double Forge is a good idea. Now losing all of these Phoenixes though would be painful. Only 1 of them ended up going down, but that's 1 less Phoenix to worry about. Normally, though, at this point in the game, it is going to be the Terran player who's ahead supply-wise, and you can see that's not the case right here. Ghost Academy here coming up for SpeCial. He's already starting the transition towards countering the Templar Archives. Obviously, these days, though, even though you do need those ghosts if you want to deal with the High Templar in particular, it's still extremely good. Now, with the enhanced Shockwave's ability to just have a couple of ghosts in your army, lending EMPs can 100% be a game changer. It's one of those spells that's not as obvious to see. I mean, Psionic Storm, Fungal Growth, Parasitic Bomb, like all of those spells are super easy to see and spot, and you can see them dealing damage. One EMP though from a ghost, especially with the new upgrade for the ghost, the enhanced shockwaves, it just deals so much damage. It basically removes most of the shields off of every single Protoss unit in the area, and it also gets rid of energy. So this Protoss army is obviously not as strong later on into the game without the High Templar. There they are, by the way. But also without like the Guardian shield and stuff, you really do need those at a later stage in the game. So it makes a lot of sense. Here we go. We immediately do see the upgrade here coming up as well for the Terran player. So SpeCial does want to actually test the waters here. A little bit of an awkward moment though. Ooh, I was gonna say, I don't think you want to be stuck on that choke. A lot of Protoss units are moving in from every single site. These Colossi just walk over pretty much this entire terrain. They don't really care too much about these mineral fields. And I think this was mostly just SpeCial testing the waters over here. Okay. So, this has been a pretty passive game, right? Neither player really taking all too many risks. I always kind of like it when Protoss players take an advantage in the early game and then try and commit to a push a little while later. Alternatively, though, I think that's probably why MaNa decided to go for the second forge. If you want to go ahead and play a little bit more macro-focused, it makes sense to just get the second forge, get the upgrades, and max out, and then fight, right? Not take too many risks. Now, you do need to start off these upgrades really quick. Can't really delay those all too much. They're a little bit out of sync, so we'll have to keep an eye out right there on that second forge and whether or not MaNa starts up the second upgrade. Jimmy the Marine, trying his very best to get something done. Turns out he will just, he will just burn. I was going to say he's just going to die, but he actually went up in smoke. Phoenix is still patrolling in the bottom section of the map, trying to intercept any kind of medivacs that fly there, but SpeCial not really going for that multiple drop harass this time around. Mostly just focusing on just having his one big army out. So pay attention here to especially the Psionic Storm. So all of the Templar are currently inside of the plane, inside of the prism, and also the EMPs. It's very critical. Ooh, there we go. Warp Prism actually goes down, but all of the High Templar still live. There's a lot of energy here available. Here come the Ghosts, trying to move forward as well. Great feedbacks. So feedback obviously removes the energy out of the Ghost as well. Although that's a single target spell, not so much an AoE spell, like for example that EMP ability. These Vikings though, dealing so much damage, that's the second Colossus being picked off right there as well. Zealots right now able to close the distance. There's a lot of Marines in this army composition, and because of all of the High Templar, right? Yeah, and all of those Colossi, I think that this army should go easily down against this Protoss onslaught. This is a scary Protoss force, and really like the scary, or like the real units there that fell were, I guess, 2 Colossi and maybe an Archon or 2? Pretty much all of the gas-heavy units stayed alive, and that's the most important army to keep. I guess he actually ended up losing only 1 Colossus. I thought he already lost one earlier, but he ended up losing most of the Phoenixes, but they are pretty expendable at this point in the game. 3 Sentries too. Really liking this position here for MaNa, as Protoss in the late game pretty much always tries to go for that very gas-heavy army. The more Archons you can get, well, not quite, but the more Archons you can get, the better is not quite a true statement, because when you get too many, like when you go over like 10 or so, they start bumping into each other and they get a little bit awkward, but getting 10 Archons is very expensive and not usually something you can get just while also getting all of your other tech structures too. Obviously, the excess minerals will be dumped here on Zealots, great for scouting purposes as well, but MaNa is just, yeah, playing this very slow and steady. I'm actually quite impressed with this. Most players, especially against Major here, against SpeCial, they wouldn't feel too comfortable playing a macro game. SpeCial is one of the best macro Terrans in the world. I personally, like, if I would, well, I would just cheese him, right? Like, that would pretty much be my only way of winning. Oh my god. Is he gonna go for another storm drop? Oh wow, well, he's getting a little ambitious now. Yeah, that's not gonna happen, buddy. A couple of SCVs were killed here. Most of them just bruised up. But if I would play a game against SpeCial, I think I would go ahead and just, play as aggressively as possible. Hope he slips up. Usually when we see a player getting advantage, and I do think SpeCial is pretty heavily favored in a game like this. There are some moments where MaNa really shines, but in general, I mean, SpeCial is the stronger player. I really expected when he took an advantage early on that he would try and capitalize on that, but he's capitalizing on it by playing the late game, right? So whenever he takes an advantage, he adds on first off an additional forge. Secondly, right now when he won the fight again, he takes another expansion, and he's trying to slowly contain his opponent as well while not really taking any risks. So rather than going all in, he's getting more ahead, right? It's a smart way of playing, but it does give a lot of wiggle room here for SpeCial as well to show his magic here in the later stages of the game. So here we go. Once again, pay attention to the High Templar. Pay attention to the Ghost. Great force field there. MaNa, wow. Really beautifully zoning that army, getting rid of a couple of those High Templar. One big EMP does land, but I think there's still enough energy here for one storm in this High Templar too. Since there is a planetary fortress, always a beautiful anchor point for the Terran player, Protoss is forced to move back. But this is slowing down the expansion rate of SpeCial ever so slightly. This is the point, though, where Terran is also maxed out, right? And one missed position, it can be game over. Here we go. This is accidentally creating a bit of a concave here for the Protoss player, but he's missing a lot of his army. Stalker's right now moving on the left-hand side as well. There's a Colossus moving across, an Immortal joining the fray right now, too. SpeCial saw an opportunity, pulled the trigger on the stim button, and right now is trying to see if he can deal maximum damage to the Protoss bull that was just sort of wandering around, right? Beautiful move there. by the Mexican Terran player, and SpeCial easily shuts down that army. Coming back in StarCraft is one of the hardest things to do, right? You gotta capitalize on a mistake that your opponent makes, and that was certainly a mistake there. That army just wandering in that direction rather than wandering via this bottom path. I think if you would have taken this direction over here instead, would have been much better. That I think that sensor tower was up earlier as well, but it just simply saw all of the little blips there on the radar and knew exactly where that Protoss force was located. Now once again, Templar drop! Any StarCraft 1 players watching this? I love Templar drops. Templar drops are amazing. Do it again. Do it again. Oh, yeah, there you go. Oh. Templar drops are so underrated, man. It doesn't happen often enough. Now, it's too expensive, I guess. That's gonna start shooting some water balloons. Believe it or not, these little water balloons, they just tickle. They don't actually deal damage there to the Marauder. But that was beautiful work. Really, really liking this. Still, though, this Terran force is scary, right? Yeah, there's one Dark Templar over here as well. Protoss force is now trying to make its way towards the top left, as MaNa is starting up the transition towards, like, SkyToss as well. A couple of Archons recalled over in this direction as well, but the Liberators, man, that's a lot of them. Reinforcing Terran units right now joining as well. The Tempests are trying to shoot away at these lips from a bit of a distance. I think eventually there might be enough Protoss to shoo all of this away. He needs to be careful, though. There's not that much anti-air here in general. Well, reinforcing units right now coming up as well for the Terran player. Really utilizing that stim pack to make these units fly across the map a little bit faster. And once again, an engagement goes in favor there of the Terran player. Man, these liberation zones are so painful. Like, losing those 2 Tempests there was actually massive. How are you gonna get rid of these Liberators right now? Like, the Liberator count is gonna keep growing, and once he's satisfied with it, he will just go back to, like, Vikings and Medivacs and stuff. And winning the air battle is extremely difficult. Beautiful zoning there by SpeCial. Would have loved to see, like, 1 Liberator on that mineral line, but he's probably gonna switch to that in just a little bit once he gets a little bit of time to breathe. Or, you know what? This is also an option. Yeah, just push forward. Try and go after one of the exposed bases as well. In the meantime, a couple of Stalkers and Zealots made their way towards the natural of the Terran player. High Templar coming in from the back. This one does have full energy, but yeah, it's actually being picked off right now as well. They try to, or he tried to move around pretty cleverly, but that's 23 probes going down. SpeCial saw one mistake and immediately took the opportunity. Still though, a lot of gateway units are reinforcing. They have good upgrades, they can deal a lot of damage, but the zoning is just so hard. Those liberation circles are so painful to deal with. Good blink forward right there, gets one of them. Probably gets the second one too, there it goes. The one shield battery helping out as well, photon cannon also helping. We see the Medivacs just being picked off right now. They don't have the boost available anymore. And you know what? Maybe SpeCial overstayed his welcome. MaNa climbs himself back into the driver's seat of this game. He was pretty much on the losing end of the match, and I was already talking as if he was losing. But right now, if you look at the supply count, we see that SpeCial heavily over-considered his advantage. He probably forgot about what the early game looked like. He lost a couple of battles then. In a regular game, if those battles earlier would have been even, if he didn't lose like the double Medivacs here in the bottom section of the map like 10 minutes ago, this would have looked very different, but MaNa took the first couple of battles in his own hands. Now all of a sudden finds himself with an advantage once again. So what do you do at this point? You know that the Terran is probably just going to continue making Marine Marauder Medivac, right? It's go-to bread and butter of the Terran with a couple of ghosts mixed in as well. You know what I would like to see? And maybe this is like, you know, the noob in me talking, okay? But I think Disruptors would be great. Disruptors would be excellent here. I guess it's difficult to zone away with like, you know, those liberation zones and all that. They can deal so much damage, but double Colossus, it feels a little bit risky. That's still a lot of Immortals, by the way. This base, the command center, is trying to morph into a planetary fortress. He's not going to allow it to happen. Good EMPs, but most of these Protoss units still have a lot of energy left over. There are a couple of High Templar here. Few Ghosts still available too. They're looking for the EMPs. They're looking for the Storms. But the planetary is already gone. Base was picked off. And that right now means apparently, I think the main base, yeah, the main base is going to float on over to this expansion location for SpeCial. He needs to get his minerals because he doesn't have a lot of it anymore. He actually is running out of money. These bases are looking very, very dry. This is also when Stalkers once again become very valuable. It's kind of funny, right? Like, we climb the tech ladder as economy grows in StarCraft 2. But at some point, once economy shrinks again, the tech ladder kind of diminishes too. You want to kind of go back to that more bare bones approach. Because these units are incredible in just straight up clashes when there's not a lot of splash damage in the game. So, MaNa doesn't have a lot of splash anymore. Still needs to be careful though. I mean, EMPs can change the battle so quick, and I know I'm really hammering on it, but EMPs can change the battle so very quickly. Oh my god, you know what? Speaking of EMPs, massive EMPs go down on literally every single one of these Protoss units. All of them are all of a sudden without shields, and you know what? MaNa did this before. Walked around the map with like, I don't know why he was there. What was the point of even being in that location? He's being a little indecisive with the positioning of his force and SpeCial. Sees an opportunity and immediately jumps at it again. And right now, guess who's ahead supply-wise? It's the Terran player. Dark Templar gets picked off as well. We have a little bit of micro there. There's a laser boy inside of a plane. See what the Prism can do. Still though, 3 Colossi remain. 4th one right now joining the fray as well. There's not that much support, right? Just Colossi alone, just don't do it. Luckily here for Protoss though, there's no planetary in this location. If there was a planetary here, that would be a massive issue. Because then you just can't engage. Can you engage right now though? I'm not entirely sure. Well, he's gonna try. Setting up a huge concave. It comes down right here to this fight. The Stalker's trying their very best to pick up as much of those anti-air units in particular. But I mean, the ground force of the Terran is just huge. The Marauders just simply piling on the assault. They deal so much damage. And the Colossi just don't deal nearly as well with armored units as they do with light. Most of the Marines were picked up, but the Marauders are still looking very, very strong. MaNa right now retreating with his tail between his legs. Or his Colossus inside the Prism. Whatever Protoss players say, okay? I kind of wish that, like, if you loaded up a Colossus inside of a Prism, that, like, its little legs were dangling out from the bottom. That would be awesome. Like the Thors inside of a Medivac. I kind of wish that was the same as well for the Colossus. Anyway, here we go. SpeCial. Smelling blood in the water. There's once again a few High Templar. Probably looking to get the drop in, obviously, when they're inside of the Prism. Oh, good scan. When they're inside of the Prism, you can save them a lot easier. MaNa, once again, threatening these drops. I love it. There you go. Get it. Oh, that's so much damage. Recall's not going to happen, buddy. The one Archon, though, will probably be able to get on out of there. But the thing is, that's once again 9 SCVs going down, but also 2 of those High Templar. Well, I guess he's got an Archon, but is that really worth it? When the Terran is so far ahead right now, the production here of this bio player is off the charts. Even though his economy was very hurt earlier. SpeCial is slowly but surely dismantling this Polish Protoss player. Good storm there, but I've got a feeling it's not going to be enough, right? The money here of Protoss is running out. Look at his income. He's getting like 300 minerals a minute compared to the 2,500 here of the Terran player. Now these Protoss units are cost efficient, but sometimes StarCraft 2 is just a numbers game, right? That's Colossus down. Once again, by the way, we do have that Dark Templar dealing a little bit of damage. There's apparently a Dark Templar over here in the mineral line too. You know what? It's actually picking up a lot of kills. Oh, wait. It kind of felt like this game was over like 4 times already. But MaNa just killed 21 SCVs with, I think, just 2 Dark Templar. That's what happens in my games. That usually doesn't happen at this level. Dude, look at this slaughterhouse, actually. More than 100 workers going down so far in this game. Don't do math in a YouTube video, guys. That's more than 125. Right? Right? Yeah, it is. Oh, God. I did video and math at this. Oh, incredible. So proud of myself. Still no planetary fortresses. I'm actually starting to get a little bit worried here for the... Well, no. Don't fight here. MaNa, if you fight here, you're... Well, I mean, you can't see that, right? You don't know. But if you fight here, it's game over. Don't do it. SpeCial's baiting him as well, right? She's like, yes, come to me. Eat my EMPs and fight me, Protoss. Oh, pulling the trigger there on the stim button. Protoss immediately backs off. This is a sick game. MaNa very far behind right now supply-wise. Actually, a Liberator over here as well. It's got 6 health, but 5 kills. But here we go. And Protoss, forced to take that engagement, is not going to be able to hold on. An excellent back and forth between both of these players. I would love to see more Storm Drop, okay? I know Storm Drop is slowly starting to gather momentum. I hope 2020 is the year of Storm Drops. It's pretty popular right now. It's just a little bit expensive, but with some of these gateway forces, right, becoming really popular again. Like, for example, that game that I uploaded from Zest a couple of weeks ago where he goes for like 2 gases and like 4 base mineral income, right? And he just goes like super zealot heavy. I would love to see like a couple additional gases added on there with that style. Is that even possible? I don't really know. But you add like a couple of additional gases and then get a couple of Stormy Boys in there as well and just start dropping those mineral lines. I think that would be amazing. But we'll see. We'll see what the future brings. Excellent game here though by SpeCial. Congratulations, well played. But for now, I want to thank you for watching. Have an amazing day. Do not forget to smile alright. And I will see you once again in the next one.